Hey everyone, welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a really interesting look at some ancient Buddhist writings, a collection of discourses that actually have a surprising amount to say about our lives right now.
That's right. We've got excerpts from, well, a fascinating set of sources known for organizing profound wisdom into groups of 8. It's a remarkable way they structure these universal truths.
Exactly. Our mission today is to pull out the most powerful insights from these texts. Think of it as a kind of practical guide, for living well, building better relationships, navigating life's inevitable ups and downs, all through the lens of these recurring 8s. You'll discover principles that are, well, as timeless as they are practical, helping you quickly grasp what truly matters. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with something truly foundational, this idea of cultivating loving kindness, or metta. These texts describe some, well, remarkable benefits that come from developing this state of mind. What are some of those 8s that immediately jump out, and why are they seen as so profound?
Well, what's fascinating here is how practical and immediate the benefits are described. The texts talk about things like, sleeping happily, waking happily, even not having bad dreams.
Wow.
Yeah, it points to a profound inner peace, right? A calm mind that really seems to arise from a genuinely benevolent heart. It's almost a physical sense of ease they're describing. And beyond that, it extends outwards. You become dear to humans, even non-humans, apparently. You're said to be protected by spiritual beings, deities.
Right.
And maybe surprisingly, you're said to be unharmed by things like fire, poison, or weapons.
Really? That's quite specific.
It is. And finally, if full enlightenment isn't reached in this life, it's said to lead to a fortunate rebirth, like in the Brahma world. The core nugget here, I think, is that cultivating this deeply kind intention doesn't just change your mood.
Yeah.
It fundamentally seems to alter your experience of reality and how the world responds to you. It's this profound ripple effect of inner peace.
I can really see how that ripple effect works. How inner peace changes outer perception. It makes me wonder then, these texts don't just tell us what's good, right? They also lay out a pretty clear picture of what makes someone, well, unpopular, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. The texts paint a stark contrast. On one side, you have the unpopular person, often described as sort of self-centered and divisive. They might, praise those who are generally disliked by the community, or the opposite, criticize those who are widely respected. They're driven by this craving for personal gain, for status, often acting shamelessly or recklessly.
Sounds familiar in any era, really.
Doesn't it? They might harbor ill will, hold on to distorted views, constantly seek recognition, and lack that sense of appropriate timing or measure in their actions.
Right.
Sometimes described as unclean, maybe talking way too much, or even being abusive. The core insight seems to be that these aren't just minor social slip-ups. They're seen as fundamental character traits that really erode trust and connection.
And the opposite, then? The qualities that foster genuine connection and respect, are those also laid out?
Exactly. The popular individual does the opposite. They don't praise the disliked or criticize the liked. They're described as modest, conscientious, and having few personal cravings or wishes.
Okay.
They hold sound views, they're mindful of timing and measure, they maintain a certain cleanliness, speak thoughtfully, not excessively, and avoid abuse.
It's like ancient emotional intelligence.
It really is. What's truly timeless about this is how these ancient guidelines perfectly map onto modern social dynamics. It highlights that genuine connection, genuine respect. It comes from integrity, consideration, thoughtful conduct, not from constantly seeking external validation or, being disruptive. It's basically a blueprint for soft skills from millennia ago.
It's amazing how consistent these observations are across such vast stretches of time. And speaking of timeless blueprints, these texts offer an incredible example of self-mastery in this figure named Nanda. What can we learn from his approach?
Yeah.
He seems quite exceptional.
Nanda's blueprint is remarkable, yeah. You could almost think of it as an ancient operating system for your attention and energy, especially relevant in a world like ours that's designed to steal both.
Right.
He achieved this self-mastery through 4 key practices, as the text describes. First, guarding the senses. It says he consciously directed his mind whenever he looked in any direction, east, west, north, south, up, down.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. He did it so that, and this is a quote, covetousness and distress, evil, unwholesome states do not flow in.
Like building a filter.
Exactly. It's not just about avoiding temptation. It's like building an internal firewall against the endless digital noise and distractions pulling us in every direction today.
That immediately resonates. Wow. Okay, what else?
Second was moderation in eating. He ate purely for sustenance, the text says, not for sport or indulgence. The aim was just to maintain his body, cease old feelings of hunger, prevent new ones from arising unnecessarily, and basically support his spiritual life.
So mindful eating, essentially.
Very mindful eating. This isn't just a diet, it's a profound teaching on how to fuel your body without letting desire run the show.
Okay. Third,
he cultivated devotion to wakefulness. He's described as purifying his mind during the day and the first part of the night through walking and sitting meditation. Then she'd only take mindful rest during the middle watch of the night, sleeping on his right side.
Right.
And then rising again in the last watch to continue purifying his mind. It's about the intentional use of time and mental energy rather than just letting it dissipate.
That requires incredible discipline.
It does. And finally, the fourth practice was mindfulness and clear comprehension. The text says he knew, he was fully aware of, when feelings, perceptions, and thoughts arose, persisted, and then vanished.
The core of mindfulness practice.
Exactly. It's the bedrock of any self-awareness practice, really, allowing for genuine presence. So taking together, this isn't just discipline for discipline's sake. It's presented as a timeless strategy for, well, mental survival and achieving genuine presence in a chaotic world.
Okay, so we've talked about inner cultivation, how we relate to others, self-mastery, but life throws curveballs.
All right.
How do these texts suggest we stay steady amidst, the chaos? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Yes, this is crucial. The texts talk about the 8 worldly conditions, sometimes called the worldly winds. These are the unavoidable realities that, as they put it, revolve around the world and which the world revolves around.
Okay, what are they?
They are gain and loss, disrepute and fame, censure and praise, and pleasure and pain. 8 things everyone encounters.
Everyone. No escaping those.
Right. And the crucial distinction the texts make isn't about avoiding these because you can't, but about how we react to them.
Right.
They describe the uninstructed, ordinary person, basically, most of us without this kind of training. When they encounter gain, fame, praise, pleasure, they delight in it. They get attached. And when they encounter loss, disrepute, censure, pain, they resist, they feel aversion, they suffer. Their minds are seized by these conditions, as the text says. And because of this attachment and aversion, they remain unliberated from suffering.
Right, caught in the cycle.
Exactly. But then they contrast this with the instructed noble disciple. This person understands these 8 conditions. They reflect on them and see them clearly as impermanent, suffering, and subject to change.
They see the bigger picture.
Yes, and because they understand this nature, their minds are not seized. They don't get swept away by delight when things go well or crushed by despair when things go badly. They maintain a level of equanimity. And this, the texts say, is the fundamental difference. This understanding is what leads to being freed from suffering.
That's incredibly powerful. It really puts the emphasis on perspective and reflection, doesn't it? Cultivating resilience through understanding.
Precisely. It's the power of wisdom applied to lived experience.
This next example really brings this home, but in a kind of cautionary way. It's the story of Devadatta. He was, I believe, related to the Buddha.
Yes, a cousin, and initially a follower. But his story is often told as a warning. The texts say he became overwhelmed and ensnared by 8 unwholesome states, which directly led to his downfall and severe negative consequences.
And what were those 8 states that trapped him?
They overlap significantly with the worldly conditions, but with a focus on the internal corruption they caused in him. They are listed as gain, loss, fame, disrepute, honor, dishonor, having evil wishes, and having bad companionship.
So it's both the external conditions and his internal reaction, the desires and the company he kept.
Exactly. He let himself be completely consumed by a craving for status, for recognition, maybe jealousy. He developed these harmful desires and surrounded himself with others who encouraged them. The texts use him as a prime example of how unchecked desires and the hunger for external validation can lead to self-destruction, regardless of one's initial potential or standing.
A stark warning. And what's presented as the antidote? How should one deal with these when they arise?
The teaching is straightforward. Monks, and by extension, anyone practicing, should learn to recognize these 8 states when they arise within them, reflect on their dangers, and actively work to overcome them. The goal is to prevent what the texts call effluence, vexations, and fevers of mind, essentially to keep the mind clear and unburdened by these destructive forces.
So moving from those external challenges and internal pitfalls towards actual growth, what are the building blocks? What are the foundational practices, according to these texts, that truly cultivate profound wisdom?
Well, if we're talking about developing wisdom within the context of this path, the texts outline another set of 8 crucial conditions. These really form a comprehensive roadmap to both intellectual and spiritual clarity.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, it emphasizes living in dependence on a teacher or a revered spiritual companion. Showing deep respect and reverence isn't just about hierarchy, it's about being open to guidance.
Makes sense. Learning from someone wise.
Right. Second, actively questioning and inquiring about the teachings, the Dhamma. Really digging in, clarifying doubts. It's not passive acceptance.
Active learning.
Exactly. Third, attaining 2 kinds of seclusion. Bodily seclusion, meaning finding physical quiet and space.
Getting away from it all.
Yeah, but also mental seclusion, actively withdrawing the mind from unwholesome states, from mental clutter.
So not just quiet time, but a quiet mind. Got it.
Precisely. Fourth is being virtuous, observing ethical precepts, and, importantly, seeing the danger even in minor faults. Developing sensitivity.
Attention to detail.
Fifth, being learned, not just reading, but retaining the teachings, contemplating them deeply, and thoroughly penetrating them with right understanding. Active wisdom again.
Right.
Sixth, persevering vigorously. Putting in sustained effort to abandon unwholesome states and cultivate wholesome ones. It takes energy and resolve.
No coasting allowed.
Definitely not. Seventh, interestingly, is about communication. Not engaging in idle talk in groups, but instead speaking about the Dhamma, encouraging others to do so, or appreciating noble silence, purposeful speech or silence.
Choosing words carefully.
Yes. And finally, the 8th condition is contemplating the arising and passing away of the 5 aggregates. That's form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness. Basically, all the components of our moment-to-moment experience.
Seeing impermanence directly.
Exactly. Understanding that none of these components constitute a permanent, unchanging self. This insight is presented as key to profound wisdom. So, you see, it's a really holistic path. The guidance, inquiry, seclusion, virtue, learning, effort, mindful communication, and direct insight.
That's a very complete picture. Now let's talk about power. We often think of power in terms of, force or authority. But what does ancient wisdom say about true strength? These texts offer a fascinating look at different kinds of power.
They do. It starts with a list that's almost sociological, observing different forms of influence in the world. It says, for children, the power is weeping.
Yes, very effective.
For women, the power listed is anger. For thieves, it's weapons. For kings, it's authority or sovereignty.
Makes sense.
Then it gets more subtle. For fools, the power is blame or fault-finding.
Interesting.
But for the wise, the power is scrutiny and examination, the ability to investigate clearly. For the learned, it's reflection and comprehension. And for monks or Brahmins, spiritual practitioners, the key power is patience or forbearance.
So it moves from external force towards internal capacities like patience and wisdom.
Exactly. This initial list provides this really interesting glimpse into different forms of influence and control, showing how varied power can be. It sort of sets the stage for a deeper understanding of what true strength might mean, beyond just worldly might.
And it gets even deeper, right? Because the texts then talk about the profound powers of someone whose defilements are destroyed a truly liberated mind, an arahant. What are these incredible powers?
Ah, yes. This second list draws a very clear line between those worldly, often external forms of power and genuine spiritual strength. The powers of a liberated mind are entirely internal and, well, deeply transformative.
Okay.
They're not about controlling others, but about mastering oneself. It's about having a mind so deeply trained in self-awareness, focus, and understanding that it's no longer swayed by external conditions or internal turmoil.
So what are they specifically?
1, clearly seeing all formations, everything that arises and passes as impermanent. 2, clearly seeing sensual pleasures for what they are, often using the analogy of a pit of hot coals, inherently dangerous and unsatisfactory.
Right there.
3, having a mind that naturally inclines towards seclusion, detachment, and renunciation, completely free from states that breed defilement. 4, having fully cultivated the 4 foundations of mindfulness, awareness of body, feelings, mind, and mental objects.
The core practices.
Right. 5, having cultivated the 4 bases of spiritual power, things like will, effort, consciousness, and investigation, used skillfully. 6, having cultivated the 5 spiritual faculties, faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom.
The building blocks.
Yes. 7, having cultivated the 7 factors of enlightenment, mindfulness, investigation, energy, rapture, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. And finally, 8, having fully cultivated and perfected the Noble Eightfold Path itself.
Wow. So it's the complete fruition of the entire path.
Exactly. It really invites you to consider where real power lies, not in what you can control externally, but in the depth of your own inner mastery, your insight, your freedom from suffering, an unshakable inner freedom.
Moving on to something maybe a bit more down to earth, but still profound. Giving. Generosity. It's a universal act, but what truly motivates us to give? And what are the results, according to these texts?
Yeah, the texts provide very insightful analysis here, detailing 8 different motivations behind generosity. It's quite revealing.
Okay, I'm curious.
Well, some motivations listed are perhaps less than ideal, like giving out of aggression or disrespect maybe to show someone up, or giving out of fear. Others give because they've previously received something from that person, sort of like returning a favor, or giving with the clear expectation of getting something back in return.
Transactional giving?
Kind of, yeah. Then there are those who give simply because they have this sense that giving is good, a basic moral understanding. Or giving from a deeper sense of obligation, like the example given. I cook, they don't. It's not right for me not to give to those who don't.
A sense of fairness.
Right. Then giving for a good reputation, to be seen as charitable by others.
External validation again.
And finally, perhaps the highest motivation listed. Giving for mental adornment or the cultivation of the mind. Giving as a practice to purify and elevate one's own consciousness.
That's a big range of intentions.
It is, and it highlights that the underlying motivation, not just the act itself, really impacts the act's value, both for the recipient perhaps, but definitely for the giver's own development. It challenges us to reflect on why we give.
That's fascinating. And there's this analogy used, right, about directing our giving for maximum impact, like planting seeds in a field.
Yes, the field analogy. It's a powerful way to think about discerning generosity. A bad field, or analogously, a bad recipient, is described like ground that's uneven, stony, barren, maybe poorly irrigated.
Not ideal for planting.
Not at all. And this is likened to individuals who hold distorted views, have wrong intentions, or engage in unethical conduct. Giving to these, the text suggests, yields little fruit, little positive result.
Okay.
But a good field or a worthy recipient is like ground that's even, fertile, well irrigated with good soil and drainage. And this is likened to individuals with right views and practices, those genuinely cultivating wisdom and virtue. Giving to these, the texts say, yields great fruit, great benefit. It powerfully conveys this idea that our generosity is most impactful when directed towards those whose internal states are receptive and whose actions align with wisdom.
So it's not about judgment, but about wise investment of resources.
Exactly. It encourages wise, discerning generosity, understanding where your efforts can yield the most positive return, both for yourself and ultimately for the world.
And the consequences of our actions, both the good and the bad. The texts seem quite specific about those too. They talk about certain actions creating streams of merit, leading to happiness.
Yes, the streams of merit idea is quite prominent. The first 3 are about establishing a foundation, taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, his teachings, and the Sangha, the spiritual community. This sets the direction.
Okay.
Then the next 5 are framed as truly great gifts. These are the acts of abstaining from harmful actions: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, false speech, and intoxicants.
5 precepts.
Exactly. And the texts explain why these are great gifts. By refraining from these, you grant limitless fearlessness, non-enmity, and non-harm to countless beings. You're essentially giving the gift of safety and freedom from fear to everyone around you.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. Abstaining is a form of giving.
A profound form, according to this view. And this generates immense positive consequences or merit for yourself.
And conversely, there are 8 actions that lead to less fortunate outcomes.
Right.
Linking negative actions to specific negative results.
Yes, the texts are very direct about this cause and effect relationship, this idea of karma. Killing, for instance, is said to lead to a short lifespan. Stealing results in loss of wealth.
Makes a certain kind of sense.
Sexual misconduct is linked to experiencing enmity and rivalry. False speech leads to being falsely accused yourself. Divisive speech results in friendships breaking. Harsh speech leads to hearing unpleasant sounds or words. Idle chatter makes one's own speech unreliable or ignored. And consuming intoxicants that cause heedlessness is linked to madness or insanity.
It's a very clear map.
It is. These principles highlight the immediate and long-term impacts of our choices, not just on others, but profoundly on our own well-being and future experiences. It's presented as a clear map of how our actions shape our reality.
Okay, for those seeking maybe a deeper, more intensive spiritual practice, these ancient texts offer something called the eight-membered Uposatha. It sounds like a powerful, immersive kind of practice day.
It truly is. It's a specific observance day, traditionally held on new moon and full moon days, but the principle applies. It involves undertaking 8 specific precepts for a full day and night. The idea is to temporarily live more like a renunciate, an imitator of arahants, or liberated beings.
So it's a focused period of renunciation. What are the 8 precepts?
Well, it includes the core 5 ethical precepts we just mentioned: abstaining from killing, stealing, unchastity, complete celibacy for the day, false speech, and intoxicants.
The foundation.
Right. But then it adds 3 more focused on simplifying and sense restraint. Number 6 is abstaining from eating at the wrong time, typically meaning only one meal taken before noon.
Intermittent fasting, ancient style.
You could say that. 7th is abstaining from entertainment and adornment. No dancing, singing, music, watching shows, wearing garlands or perfumes, using cosmetics or ornaments, basically reducing sensory input.
Simplifying things radically.
Yes. And 8th is abstaining from high and luxurious beds and seats. Instead, using a low bed or even just a mat on the floor. Again, simplicity and reducing comfort to focus the mind.
That's quite a commitment for a full 24 hours. What kind of rewards do the texts promise for such a focused practice? Seems intense.
The rewards described are, well, extraordinary. What's striking is how they frame it. The texts go so far as to say the benefits you gain from observing this practice, even for just a single day, far surpass human kingship, even ruling over 16 great kingdoms filled with treasures.
Wow, that's a bold claim.
It is. They use these incredible analogies comparing our human lifespans to the vast lifespans in various divine realms, like saying 50 of our years is just one day for certain deities.
To put it in perspective.
Exactly. It's their way of emphasizing, look, all the worldly wealth, power, and status you might value. It's actually quite poor, quite insignificant compared to the inner freedom, the happiness, the divine states you can cultivate, even through temporary focused renunciations like this Uposatha practice.
That really reframes priorities, doesn't it?
It's a powerful statement about where true value lies and the immense potential they saw in even short bursts of disciplined spiritual effort.
Okay, that's fascinating. Now let's explore something quite specific in the text. What makes a woman, specifically a householder's wife, truly admirable and capable of a fortunate rebirth? It's a particular social context, obviously, but I imagine the underlying principles might be universal.
I think they absolutely are. While framed within an ancient Indian societal context, the 8 characteristics listed really outline timeless principles of partnership, responsibility, diligence, and spiritual cultivation that could apply to anyone contributing to a family or community unit.
So what are these 8 qualities that lead to rebirth among, as the text says, deities delightful to the mind?
Well, the first relates to the relationship with her husband. Being attentive, waking before him, going to bed after him, listening to requests, acting pleasingly, speaking kindly, basically being a supportive partner.
Okay, partnership.
Second, respecting elders and guests, specifically mentioning the husband's parents, ascetics, and Brahmins, and offering hospitality like seats and water. Showing respect and generosity within the social structure.
Social harmony.
Third, being diligent, skillful, and not lazy in household duties. The example given is working with wool or cotton, but the principle is managing household affairs efficiently and capably.
Competence and responsibility.
Fourth, managing any household staff or helpers while knowing their work, their health, and distributing food fairly. Good management skills.
Fairness.
Fifth, safeguarding the household's wealth money. Grain, silver, gold being neither wasteful nor dishonest. Financial responsibility.
Trustworthiness.
Exactly. And then the list shifts to more explicitly spiritual qualities. Sixth, taking refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, having that spiritual foundation. Seventh, being virtuous by observing the 5 precepts, abstaining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, false speech, and intoxicants. Basic ethical conduct.
Ethical foundation.
And 8th, being generous, open-handed, delighting in giving, and being free from the stain of stinginess within the household.
Generosity again.
Yes. So, you see, the core insight is that an admirable life, leading to positive outcomes, isn't just about fulfilling a specific social role. It's about how you fulfill it with integrity, generosity, respect, diligence, and a spiritual grounding. It's about creating harmony and well-being in all aspects of life.
That makes a lot of sense. Finally, let's wrap up with what it truly means to achieve victory in both this life and the next. The texts seem to lay out a clear path for this as well, starting with this world.
They do. For achieving victory in this world, the texts summarize 4 key qualities. Again, often framed for a woman in that context, but broadly applicable. First, being skilled and diligent in one's work or duties.
Competence.
Second, being good at managing servants or those one is responsible for.
Leadership management.
Third, acting pleasingly towards one's partner, cultivating harmony in the relationship.
Partnership again.
And fourth, diligently safeguarding earnings or resources.
Financial prudence. So these are very practical, worldly skills for success and stability.
Exactly. Being competent, harmonious, responsible in your immediate environment.
Okay, so that's victory in this life. What about victory in the next world?
For that, the 4 qualities shift entirely to the spiritual dimension. It's about being endowed with, first, faith or confidence in the path. Second, virtue, strong ethical conduct. Third, generosity.
Those themes keep recurring.
Yeah. And fourth, most profoundly, wisdom. Specifically defined here as the wisdom or insight into the arising and passing away of all phenomena, that understanding of impermanence we discussed, which ultimately leads to the complete end of suffering.
So it brings it all together.
It really does. This holistic view of victory or success is quite profound. It beautifully integrates practical life skills and responsible conduct in this world with a clear, progressive path of spiritual development focused on virtue, generosity, and liberating wisdom for what lies beyond or perhaps deeper within. It implies true victory isn't about excelling in just one domain, but requires this harmonious cultivation of both worldly competence and deep spiritual well-being.
What a journey. We've unpacked so many eights today, from the, well, sometimes unexpected benefits of love and kindness all the way to the practicalities of managing a household and the profound wisdom needed for navigating life's inevitable changes.
It's truly fascinating, isn't it, how these ancient texts offer such clear, often very actionable guidance. They continuously remind us, that our choices, our intentions, and especially how we respond to life's circumstances, they have a direct, tangible impact on our well-being, both right now and, as these texts consistently suggest, perhaps beyond as well.
So, as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider this provocative thought pulled from the texts. The true opportune moment for spiritual growth. It isn't merely when a great teacher appears or when profound wisdom is taught. That's part of it, sure. But the real opportune moment is when those external conditions align and you yourself are intelligent, are capable, are ready to comprehend the teaching being offered.
That puts the responsibility squarely on us.
It does. What an incredible reminder, really, of the preciousness of your own mindful engagement, your own readiness right here in this very moment. So the question for you is, what 8, or maybe just one principle from these 8s, will you choose to focus on and cultivate in your life this week?